Good evening. Welcome to the opening night ceremonies of the virtual 129th DAR Continental Congress. And congratulations, for you are about to make history as we conduct the first exclusively online Continental Congress since the founding of our National Society in 1890. I am immensely proud that by joining us this evening, you have illustrated both our continued commitment to our shared mission and our embrace of modern technology. Huzzah, daughters! Let us begin. Please rise for the invocation, which will be given by our Chaplain General, Pamela Peterson Bork. Mrs. Bork.
Madam President General, our scripture for today is James 1:25. But those who look into the perfect law of liberty and persevere, being not hearers who forget, but doers who act, they will be blessed in their doing. I invite you to pray in your faith and tradition as I pray in mine. Let us pray. O Lord, we thank you for this virtual Continental Congress, for giving our leaders and staff the ability to plan and execute this undertaking to benefit all of our daughters who, because of the coronavirus, must remain apart. We ask your blessing on this, our 129th Continental Congress. This evening, as we take time to honor our patriots, we thank you for gathering together our founding fathers and our own patriot ancestors at a particular time and place in history, and giving them the courage and fortitude to risk their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor to found a new nation. We thank you for your abiding presence in the life of our country and ask your continued blessing on our nation. Amen.
Please participate from home as we together recite the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now, please join with me in reciting the American's Creed, followed by singing the first verse of the national anthem.
I believe in the United States of America as a government of the people, by the people, for the people, whose just powers are derived from the consent of the governed, a democracy and a republic, a sovereign nation of many sovereign states, a perfect union, one and inseparable, established upon those principles of freedom, equality, justice, and humanity, for which American patriots sacrificed their lives and fortunes. I therefore believe it is my duty to my country to love it, to support its Constitution, to obey its laws, to respect its flag, and to defend it against all enemies.
You may now be seated. Good evening again, and thank you for joining tonight's opening ceremony, wherever you are watching. When planning began for Congress last year, None of us could have anticipated the dramatic impact that the COVID-19 virus would have on our nation. No one could have known that we would face worldwide economic shutdowns and limitations on both gathering and travel that would essentially eliminate the ability to hold our traditional Congress. No one could have foreseen the ways that our members would step forward to serve during a nationally declared pandemic, and no one would surely have guessed that more than 100,000 Americans would lose their lives to a contagious virus. But one thing we knew then, and we still know now to be true, the mission of DAR is important and will continue. The purpose we serve as patriotic citizens is important and must continue. The business conducted at our annual Continental Congress is important and must be held. And so we are proud to stage our first virtual conference, one that we pray will be the only one of its kind. So it's true, there will be no dramatic descent of our flag overhead and no inspiring procession of dignitaries to dazzle us. But let us remember that the spirit of a daughter lives within her, no matter where she may be physically found. So wherever you're watching tonight, there you will find Continental Congress. You are the living, breathing embodiment of DAR, and no virus can deprive us of that fundamental truth. It was stated far more eloquently by our President General Anne Rogers Minor in the early 1920s, shortly after the last great pandemic. She said at Congress, "We are the representatives of a society of living, active American women, pledged to the perpetuation of American ideals of government, American ideals of social life, American ideals of religious faith and religious freedom. We are here primarily to consecrate this society to a more vital patriotism. And ladies, so we shall." Tonight's opening night ceremony, as well as many of the official sessions, include videos from our honorees and members who pre-recorded their remarks at locations from around the country. On behalf of the National Society, I express my gratitude for their willingness to submit these recordings in order to create our virtual format. Most of my remarks have also been pre-recorded, but please know that several important business sessions will be presented live in real time. Now, while you may not be here in Washington, D.C. with me, I assure you that I am presiding over this first virtual Congress from the stage of DAR Constitution Hall. But it is a Constitution Hall that is empty of more than its traditional cheering audience. As we begin a sweeping historic restoration of the hall, which is now estimated to total more than $10 million in cost, it has begun to be stripped of its seats, carpeting, and other familiar features. In fact, I stand alone on a stage amidst construction equipment, conducting the 129th Continental Congress in a setting like no other. So for the first time since 1890, we are conducting our Congress virtually, and we are doing so from a hall that is undergoing the most extensive restoration in its storied history. Those are the stark differences between this year's virtual Congress and our annual Congresses of the past. But what will not change is the business of Congress and its familiar hallmarks. So let me share the greetings from the President of the United States sent to be read to the Assembly, and I ask you to please rise. The First Lady and I send warm greetings to those virtually attending the Daughters of the American Revolution's 129th Continental Congress. The outstanding women of the DAR embody the ideals that have helped lift our country to remarkable heights: compassion, kindness, and admirable patriotism. Their deep love for our country and their fellow Americans is demonstrated each and every day through their numerous volunteer activities, outstanding philanthropic endeavors, and their commitment to preserving and restoring many of the nation's historic and cherished landmarks. It is organizations like yours that ensure that the next generation is not only familiar with, but also values our great American story. While this year's Continental Congress is unique, the spirit of the DAR remains the same, connecting each and every one of you, even from afar. These unprecedented times have reminded us of the importance of fellowship and the need for organizations like yours that help improve our communities and strengthen our country through service to others. I join a grateful nation in thanking you for your contributions to a better America. May God bless you, and may He bless the United States of America, signed by Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America. You may be seated. The Mayor of the District of Columbia, the Honorable Muriel Bowser, has also sent us greetings. As Mayor of Washington, D.C., I am pleased to welcome members of the National Society, Daughters of the American Revolution, to your virtual 129th Continental Congress. Since its founding in 1890, the DAR has continued to promote historic preservation, education, and patriotism. This annual event is traditionally held in Washington, D.C. for the national meeting to honor DAR members for their outstanding service in our communities. But this year, we hope the more than 185,000 daughters from all 50 states, the District of Columbia, and many international chapters will enjoy gathering virtually to celebrate the past year's accomplishments, acknowledge outstanding award recipients, discuss future plans, and rekindle friendships. I take this opportunity to thank each of you for your contributions that you make to help enrich the quality of life of others and wish you continued success in your future endeavors. On behalf of the 706,000 residents of Washington, D.C., we wish we could have seen you in person this year, but hope you will have a productive and enjoyable virtual event. Signed by Muriel Bowser, Mayor, District of Columbia. It's always a pleasure to have the children of the American Revolution as a part of our DAR Continental Congress. The NSCAR has not yet held the election for its next president, so we welcome greetings from the two candidates for that office, Alexandra Slaughter and Liza Friedenmaker.
Good evening. My name is Alex Slaughter.
And I'm Liza Friedenmaker, and it is an honor for us to bring greetings on behalf of the National Society Children of the American Revolution.
As candidates for national president, both of us have looked forward to being able to address the DAR from the platform in Constitution Hall. This is because both of us have had family members standing on the platform in the past.
My mom, who was a joint CAR-DAR member at the time, brought greetings at the 1986 Continental Congress as CAR National President.
And my grandmother sang a medley of patriotic songs on opening night in the 1970s. While we can't present from the platform, both of us are grateful for the opportunity to present via this means of communication.
Mrs. Harriet Lothrop addressed the daughters at the 1895 Continental Congress, charging them with creating a patriotic organization for their children. CAR was founded upon her vision that the hope of this country is with its youth. Mrs. Lothrop's forethought was paramount to CAR, currently celebrating 125 years.
Normally, you would only be seeing one of us. As the usual CAR summer has so drastically changed, we as candidates realized we need to make drastic adjustments to keep CAR members involved and engaged. Therefore, we have decided to go forward with one project, chosen and developed by both of us, so no matter what happens when the CAR elections are held, our project will already be in full swing.
This year, CAR will be focusing on the theme, Support Our Brave and Noble Patriots. Through participating in the first ever virtual Continental Congress, CAR is able to connect with more DAR members, and each of you can help CAR give back to those who have served our nation. Can we do it? Yes, we can.
We are partnering with Pets for Vets to raise funds for placing shelter dogs with veterans that have PTSD. Many brave troops return home with scars, both seen and unseen, that make it difficult to transition back to civilian life.
We appreciate the support of DAR and are excited to rise and shine with you as we support our brave and noble patriots.
The DAR, of course, also shares a long-standing friendship with the National Society Sons of the American Revolution. John T. Manning, President General of Sons of the American Revolution, has sent greetings on behalf of the SAR.
President General Denise Van Buren and ladies of the Daughters of the American Revolution. On behalf of the members of the Sons of the American Revolution, I bring you greetings for your 129th Continental Congress. We wish you a very successful meeting. I can only imagine the disappointment of not being in Constitution Hall and experiencing what I've heard is one of the most patriotic events of the year, opening session of the DAR Congress. It is my hope that both our organizations will be able to resume our schedules and attend events which promote our mission. In the meantime, I wish you and your families good health. Stay safe. Thank you very much.
We're grateful for these greetings to launch this 129th Continental Congress on this, an evening devoted to honoring the memory and the spirit of the men and women who achieved American independence. Daughters, as the direct descendants of these patriots, we share a special bond to ensure that their sacrifices are not forgotten and that the republic they forged continues to thrive. Tonight's speakers and award winners reflect that theme of honoring our patriots, which I hope will remind you of the importance of carrying forward their commitment to our American ideals. For it was the Continental soldier, the local militiaman, those behind the scenes in support roles, and many other unknown but nonetheless valiant citizens who won our independence. We share an obligation to ensure that future generations appreciate their valor and their vision. Many of their stories have been masterfully captured in a best-selling book that explores the first 20 months of the Revolutionary War. It is a privilege to set the stage for tonight's ceremony by presenting Rick Atkinson, author of The British Are Coming, The War for America, Lexington to Princeton, 1775 to 1777, with the 2020 NSDAR Excellence in American History Book Award. Laura McCrillis Kessler, Historian General, will introduce Mr. Atkinson. Mrs. Kessler.
Madam President General, the NSDAR Excellence in American History Book Award recognizes distinguished historical literary works of nonfiction or biographies that have made an original contribution to the body of historical knowledge or added new information to previously familiar materials. The award-winning publication selected to receive the 2020 Excellence in American History Book Award is The British Are Coming, The War for America, Lexington to Princeton, 1775 to 1777, by Rick Atkinson. This groundbreaking book about the first 21 months of the American Revolution features never-before-told tales presenting both colonial and British perspectives. The first volume in a planned trilogy on the American Revolution, Atkinson provides an authoritative and thrilling account of the conflict that gave birth to America. According to historian Joseph J. Ellis, this two-time Pulitzer Prize-winning historian and New York Times #1 best-selling author has provided a powerful new voice to the dialogue about our origins as a people and nation. Madam President General, it gives me great pleasure to present the author of The British Are Coming, The War for America, Lexington to Princeton, 1775 to 1777, Rick Atkinson.
Evening, I'm Rick Atkinson, an author and a historian in Washington, D.C., and I want to tell you how pleased I am to accept the National Society Daughters of the American Revolution's 2020 Excellence in American History Book Award. I'm sorry that we're not able to gather here in Washington for your 129th Continental Congress, but I'll take just a few minutes to speak virtually about the book you've been so generous to honor. The British Are Coming, The War for America, Lexington to Princeton, 1775 to 1777. This is the first volume in an intended trilogy about the Revolution. The British Are Coming opens with an extended prologue in June 1773 when King George III travels to Portsmouth on the southern coast of England for a 4-day review of the Royal Navy. It's a fantastic, proud display of military muscle precisely a decade after the creation of the First British Empire with victory in the 7 Years' War, or as we know it, the French and Indian War. 1773 is the year the phrase, "the sun never sets on the British Empire," was coined. And this volume ends with the two battles of Trenton and then the Battle of Princeton in January 1777, which together resuscitated American hopes that had seemed all but extinguished. Now, some might suggest that there's a lot to dislike about the founders and the war they fought for American independence. The stirring assertion that all men are created equal did not, of course, apply to 500,000 black slaves, 1 in 5 of all souls occupying the 13 colonies when those fine words were written in 1776. Nor was it valid for Native Americans, women, or indigents. For the 8-year duration of the American Revolution, those who remained loyal to the British Crown and even fence straddlers skeptical of armed rebellion against their government often were subjected to dreadful treatment, public shaming, disenfranchisement, confiscation, beatings, torture, exile, and even execution. Some were imprisoned on Hudson River scows anchored below Albany or in an old Connecticut copper mine where they were lowered by windlass 70 feet below ground to rock-walled cells known simply as hell. Partisan belligerence metastasized into civil war. John Adams later said, "I would have hanged my own brother had he taken part with our enemy in the contest." Conformity, censorship, and zealotry flourished. And yet, who would deny that the creation story of our founding remains valid, vivid, and thrilling? Even in 2020, at a moment when national unity is elusive, when our partisan rancor seems ever more toxic, when the simple concept of truth is assailed, that story informs who we are, where we came from, what our forebears believed, and perhaps the most profound question any people can ask themselves, what they were willing to die for. Indeed, at least 25,000 Americans died for the cause, and possibly many more. It's a larger proportion of our population to perish in any conflict other than the Civil War. So, what can we learn from that ancient quarrel? First, that this nation was born bickering. Disputation is in the national genome. Second, that there are foundational truths that not only are indeed true, but also, as the Declaration of Independence insists, self-evident. Third, that leaders worthy of our enduring admiration rise to the occasion with grit and wisdom and grace. And fourth, that whatever trials beset us today, we have overcome greater perils before, existential perils. We're the beneficiaries of an enlightened political heritage handed down to us from that revolutionary generation after many subsequent struggles. It includes strictures on how to divide power and to keep it from concentrating in the hands of those who think primarily of themselves. We cannot let that heritage slip away. We cannot permit it to be taken away. We cannot be oblivious to this priceless gift or the hundreds of thousands who have given their lives to affirm and sustain it. This, in my opinion, is how we best honor our patriots, by honoring their ideals and aspirations. The historian Bruce Caton considered the American Civil War a redemptive tragedy, he called it. And surely the same can be said of the American Revolution. It embodied the enduring aspirations of an idealistic people and brought forth a nation abounding with a sense of destiny. No wonder the world was agog. The cause of America, wrote the essayist Thomas Paine, is the cause of all mankind. Even now, the war for independence offers clues to our national temperament. It remains a bright mirror in which we see traits that fashion the American character, from ingenuity and resilience to brutality and pugnacity. We've come far in almost 2.5 centuries in power, diversity, tolerance, and sheer scale. But in some respects, those ancestors remain nearer than we know. Their struggle churned up issues that perplex us to this day, including individual liberty versus collective security, the proper limits on executive power, the obligations of citizenship, and the elusive quest for a more equitable society. The tacit primal question of 1776 persists in 2019. Who do we want to be? Democracy is never a thing done. The poet and librarian of Congress, Archibald MacLeish, told us, democracy is always something that a nation must be doing. Even Jefferson's Declaration, our foundational secular scripture, we hold these truths to be self-evident, is dynamic, never a thing done, something a nation must be doing. The great Yale historian Edmund Morgan wrote that the creed of equality did not give men and women equality, but invited them to claim it, invited them not to know their place and keep it, but to seek and demand a better place. The American Revolution lasted 3,089 days, and the result was epical and enduring, the creation of the American Republic, among mankind's most remarkable achievements. Nearly 90,000 more days have elapsed since those horsefly swatting men sitting in Philadelphia asserted a human birthright of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Keeping faith with those who fought, suffered, and died for the principles we profess to still cherish requires more than a nodding acquaintance with them, more than a perfunctory acknowledgement of their struggles. For better and for worse, their story is our story. Their fight remains our fight. Thank you again for choosing the British are coming for this terrific honor. I enjoyed the opportunity to dress up with you this evening. I hope you all have a good, safe summer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Atkinson, for your remarkable commitment to our shared history. The DAR, of course, was founded to preserve the memory and the spirit of the men and women who helped achieve American independence, and now, almost 250 years after their revolutionary achievements, it is our responsibility to educate the next generation about the Patriots' service and sacrifice. We have brought this commitment to our administration through a new website that has just begun to blossom. Honoring Our Patriots will link researchers to the ancestors in our genealogy database, our online Americana archives, and other resources. In particular, it will celebrate the DAR Pathway of the Patriots, a unique project to plant 250 trees along the Schuylkill Trail in Pennsylvania, each in honor of a patriot of the American Revolution. We are grateful to those who sponsored the trees, and we're excited to see the Patriot stories brought to life as we begin to populate content on the new website that we are launching tonight. We also look forward to including more content on the Honoring Our Patriots website as we strive to become the preeminent source for researching the individual patriots of the American Revolution as we approach the 250th anniversary of our nation. I'm thrilled to announce that there will be new and exciting ways for you to participate in the America 250 initiative as well. We're proud tonight to launch a new initiative to have at least one historic marker installed in each state to celebrate the collective achievement of the men and women who achieved American independence as part of our America 250 commemoration. Watch for more information coming soon. We're proud that the DAR store will also soon offer temporary grave commemoratives for the final resting places of Revolutionary War patriots for Independence Day. We hope they will be placed in cemeteries the way that flags of the United States of America are placed for Memorial and Veterans Days, and more to come here too. As daughters, we share an obligation to research and understand the contributions of all those who contributed to American independence, from officers to privates, from youthful enlistees to battle-tested soldiers, from states large and small. We also recognize that some who contributed are often overlooked in traditional sources. I'm proud that the DAR offers specialty research in several areas, including African American and American Indian patriots, as well as female and foreign-born patriots, and that we encourage continued research into these stories of many people who contributed to our nation's founding. Later this evening, we'll be making an exciting announcement about a new initiative to expand this body of knowledge. But for now, let's take a few moments to reflect on the patriots who won our independence.
Honoring and preserving the memory of those who served in the American Revolution not only includes the signers of the Declaration of Independence or high-ranking military officers, but also the everyday soldier or colonist who contributed to our fight for independence. As many as 250,000 men served in the Army or militia, and countless others heroically helped with the efforts. In the first report to Congress, the newly formed Daughters of the American Revolution described that their genealogical research showed the experiences of the many unnoticed heroes and forgotten heroines who composed the rank and file of the nation in 1776. Patriots like Peter Rogers, who enlisted as a fife major in the 4th Regiment, Connecticut Line, and served in Washington's Army in Pennsylvania, and William Hughes, who was a volunteer private in the 2nd New Hampshire Regiment. Other patriots contributed to the cause off the battlefield, such as Michael Gratz of Philadelphia, who signed a pledge to cease trading with the British and supplied gunpowder and firearms to George Washington's troops. Women also contributed to the fight for independence, but their efforts were often less heralded. Margaret Cochran Corbin manned an artillery cannon after her husband was killed during a battle. She was wounded. Through research, the DAR linked Margaret Corbin to her heroic actions. Other women patriots also had military combat experience in the Revolution, such as Deborah Sampson, who disguised herself as a man and served in the Continental Army for 17 months before being wounded and honorably discharged. Elizabeth Zane showed great courage during the siege of Fort Henry when she volunteered to leave the fort during a pause in gun battle to fetch a keg of gunpowder, and narrowly returned safely with the precious ammunition. While never directly in the line of fire, Mercy Otis Warren's strong convictions and political writings during the Revolution helped to galvanize the cause. African American and American Indian patriots also participated in the American Revolution. James Armistead, a slave, served as a spy for the Americans, while acting as a servant for British General Cornwallis. And Toby Gilmore, an African-born slave, won his own freedom by serving as a private in the Continental Army and contributing to a number of significant battles. Peter Harris, of the Catawba Nation in South Carolina, fought in the Revolution and was eventually recognized for his service. In October 2002, DAR opened the exhibit Forgotten Patriots, African American and American Indian Patriots in the Revolutionary War. It was the culmination of more than 20 years of research and based on a publication produced by DAR. To date, thousands of African American and American Indian patriots have been identified, and DAR researchers continue to work to uncover these individuals and their unique stories. Many foreign patriots also fought shoulder to shoulder with American patriots during the Revolution, including thousands of troops from France. Nationals of Sweden, Poland, Germany, Portugal, and the Netherlands also aided the American cause. Additionally, Spanish citizens provided enormous financial and military support to the American Revolution. Don Diego de Guerdeque was the financial intermediary between the Spanish court and the colonies during the American Revolution, helping to supply munitions and other military goods to the colonists. And the great Spanish military leader Bernardo de Galvez led Spanish forces defeating the British at the Siege of Pensacola. In the 1990s, the DAR formed a task force to identify Spanish nationals who contributed to the revolutionary cause. Since that time, members of the task force continue to develop a bibliography of historic events and sources that can prove Revolutionary War service of Spanish nationals. DAR's work and genealogical research has helped increase the knowledge of the patriots who helped make this country. With each new application and each new bit of information, we can have a better understanding of the sacrifices that were made in the 18th century. And with that, we can honor those heroes, one and all.
As the descendants of the men and women who achieved American independence, we appreciate and honor their sacrifice, for we recognize that we are the living beneficiaries of their victory. But we must also hold the deep appreciation for those who made possible that victory, yet never expected to be a part of this new American experiment. These, of course, are the allies who provided critically needed financial and military aid when our fledgling nation needed it most. Men from foreign shores who fought alongside our own, financiers who loaned the critically needed capital, nations that recognized our independence in order to provide legitimacy and hope to our efforts. Tonight, we pause to honor the Allied supporters who made possible our American victory. We're delighted to represent them via greetings from the Ambassador of Spain, Santiago Cabanas, and from the Ambassador of France, Philippe Etienne.
I would like first to thank Denise Van Buren, the President General of the Daughters of the American Revolution, and to extend a special greeting to all the Daughters of American Revolution members through the world that have joined this virtual 129th Continental Congress, including the España chapter, which we know is in Madrid. The American Revolution, now nearly 2.5 centuries old, remains relevant to this very same day, particularly when it comes to the ties between Spain and the United States. And of course, when we think about the role Spain played in this revolution, the main figure that comes to mind is that of Bernardo de Galvez, the Spanish general who led the siege of Pensacola, the successful battles of Baton Rouge, of Natchez and Mobile, and whose military and tactical support, including the recruitment of more than 7,500 troops from all different nationalities in Spain and in Central America, led him to be recognized by George Washington as a deciding factor in the outcome of the war. We know very well that the Daughters of the American Revolution are well aware of Bernardo de Galvez's efforts, as your members not only have joined us in the unveiling of a statue last year at our embassy, but also dedicated your Christmas message to his figure. We are very happy and very proud to cooperate with you in promoting the knowledge of this important figure, and not only that, but the knowledge about the Spanish legacy in the United States. At the embassy, we're constantly working to give the proper exposure to this history. And as you well know, in 2018, our cultural center hosted a traveling exhibition called Recovered Memories, Spain and the Support for the American Revolution, that was opened by Their Majesties the King and Queen of Spain during their visit to New Orleans that same year. To conclude, I would like to thank you again for your friendship and for your commitment, for all you have done to share this great part of our common history, of our common legacy to the American people. We look forward to continued collaboration in the coming years. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, and all the very best.
Dear Madam President General, dear Chaplain General, dear all, as the French ambassador to the United States, it is a privilege to join you virtually to honor an exceptional part of American history, which embodies the common values that bring our two countries together, democracy and freedom. France's intervention during the American Revolution was first a matter of individual commitment. I won't have time to quote the names of all the courageous French soldiers and officials who fought to help their American friends. Even before France officially fought against the British, young French soldiers, firmly committed to defending the ideals of the Enlightenment, crossed the Atlantic to rally behind George Washington. Among them, the most famous was undoubtedly Gilbert Motier de Lafayette, who, at only 19, decided in 1777 to defy authority, to buy a ship, La Victoire, the Victory, and to sail to the United States. Along with thousands of French volunteers, he enlisted in the Continental Army and was soon appointed general. King Louis XVI's decision to officially support the Americans was crucial in scaling up French assistance to the American Revolution. On February 6, 1778, the king signed a treaty of alliance with Benjamin Franklin, then American commissioner to France, becoming the first European nation to officially recognize the United States. The Battle of Yorktown, which marked the end of the war in 1781, was a decisive victory by a combined force led by George Washington, Lafayette, Rochambeau, Rear Admiral de Grasse, and Armand's volunteers. France lent official support to the American revolutionaries, and it is no coincidence that the final peace treaty, the Treaty of Paris, between the United States and the United Kingdom, was signed in what is now the 6th arrondissement of Paris. The American Revolution showed that the ideals of the Enlightenment could be put into practice, and it played a crucial role in the history of France, as it supported the ideals of the French Revolution. France's history and that of the United States were forever linked together.
Thank you for those greetings and for our nation's long-standing friendship. It's always been the goal of DAR to help the descendants of all patriots to honor their revolutionary achievements. Most of that is done through the hard work of dedicated genealogists, one generation, one ancestor, one discovery at a time. It's therefore important that we promote the many tools and programs that we offer to assist with research and support other organizations that stir interest in family history. It's therefore a distinct honor to present the 2020 DAR Media and Entertainment Award to an outstanding program that connects modern-day Americans with their frequently revolutionary relatives. Stephanie Boyd, Public Relations and Media Committee National Vice Chair, will introduce Henry Louis Gates Jr., host of the PBS series Finding Your Roots. Mrs. Boyd.
Good evening. I'm Stephanie Boyd from Los Angeles, California, and it's my honor to introduce the 2020 NSDAR Media and Entertainment Award. This prestigious award is given by DAR to programs that are outstanding in the entertainment field. This year's recipient was nominated by California's Santa Clara chapter, and while we had many interesting and exciting projects to consider, this stellar project and its producer were exceptional. The honor goes to the PBS series Finding Your Roots, special for its excellence in entertainment and education, and to its inspiring producer and host, Dr. Henry Louis Gates Jr. Brother, friend, Harvard scholar, storyteller, patriot, historian, professor, and genealogist extraordinaire. We are thrilled to recognize his important work and thank him for his beautifully produced project. Now in its 6th season, each Finding Your Roots episode profiles famous public figures and celebrities, bringing their family histories to life while highlighting our diverse communities and cultures, people and communities who've contributed so much to the rich and complicated history of our country. Discovering their personal histories in Dr. Gates' words liberates us from mistruths about our differences and fosters a more human connection between us. And in these challenging times, the emotional connections his guests and viewers experience through these compelling stories allow us to understand the depth of our shared humanity.
Okay, ready?
Oh, yeah.
You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, let's roll.
We're putting on a show.
I'm ready. Let's do it.
We gonna crack your code.
Let's crack the code.
You're kidding. You're kidding. Holy smokes.
Wow.
Gotcha!
Whoa.
Oh my golly.
Oh la la. This is amazing.
I'm dying. This is fantastic. You're looking at the picture of the white man who owned your family.
That's intense, man.
You descend from free people of color.
I feel this physically, here. I feel it here.
Birthplace of father, Africa. Birthplace of mother, Africa. Wow.
It's just a random piece of luck that I'm here at all, I guess.
It turns your family narrative upside down.
Upside down.
Yeah.
That's actually very moving.
It is.
It's moving. It's very moving.
This moment changed everything in the history of your family.
I have chills.
I'm gonna cry. That's so weird to know.
This is your family tree. Take
What?
Unfurl that and take a look.
Oh, look at this. Everybody. Whoa.
This is a record of all the ancestors.
Oh my God. It makes me feel very little down here.
These are names I've never seen. This is amazing.
That's some pretty powerful stock. It's quite a soup.
Indeed.
When you hear like your friends talk about their German ancestors and their Irish ancestors and Italian ancestors, I can join in that conversation.
Yes.
It's cool to know that I have, there's a warrior's blood in me.
This is from your ancestral homeland. That is from Unterstinkenburg.
I think the best part of that is that they're leaving behind a place called Unterstinkenburg.
Yeah.
This is so wonderfully scandalous.
I'm proud of my ancestors. This is a great document. My family got balls like this.
Nice.
You know what I mean?
This is when I'm like proud of being from where I'm from.
I've always thought the best of us is this combination. It's taking from everything to make something stronger.
You need to know your history. You need to know your roots.
This is the best time I've ever had in my whole life.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce our esteemed recipient of the NSDAR 2020 Media and Entertainment Award for Finding Your Roots, Dr. Henry Louis Gates, Jr.
Hello, my sisters of the Daughters of the American Revolution. I want to thank Robin Hurwitz, a genealogist who's a member of the Santa Clara chapter of the DAR, which also happens to be the home chapter of another genealogist with whom we've worked on Finding Your Roots, Victoria Kinnear. And I want to thank her for so very kindly nominating our PBS series for this wonderful award. And I'd like to thank President General Denise Van Buren for our selection. Denise, I have a free DNA kit for you anytime, day or night. Just text me and it's yours. Our series has been honored in so many ways before, most especially for me by the fact that we've become the most popular series on PBS. But no honor could possibly be more gratifying to me personally than this one from the DAR. Because as some of you might know, I'm a proud member of the Sons of the American Revolution. My brother Paul and I were inducted into the SAR in 2006 at the Society's 116th Annual Convention in Addison, Texas. And we were qualified for membership because we descend from a fourth great grandfather on my mother's line, a man named John Redmond, a free African-American man who served in the Continental Army between Christmas Day, 1779, and most probably November 15, 1783, when the rest of the 1st Virginia Regiment of Light Dragoons disbanded in Winchester, Virginia, where John Redmond had enlisted almost 4 years before. All of this, the identity of my fourth great grandfather, the fact that he had been free at least since the outbreak of the American Revolution, and that he had served in the Continental Army, were among the 3 biggest surprises in my entire life. Frankly, my sisters, I had absolutely no idea that any of this could be even remotely possible. I'd long been intrigued by my family's ancestry and had often wondered if I could be descended maybe from General Horatio Gates, the most famous Gates I'd ever heard of. That is until my long-lost cousin from Seattle, Bill, showed up. Still working on those autosomal DNA matches to find that genetic connection. Then after 1977, when Roots aired on ABC, about 8 years after I first visited the continent of Africa, I had longed in vain to find my ethnic origins in Africa. But only Alex Haley could do that, right? I used to look with envy at those coats of arms for sale for about $50 on offer in the ad pages at the end of the New York Sunday Times Magazine. But deep down I knew that those Gateses were not my Gateses. So I invested in that fiction. And meanwhile, I waited, with the thoughts of finding my ancestry in my treasured chest of unfulfilled fantasies, and moved on to other things. And then, Finding Your Roots happened, a result of a letter I received from the geneticist Dr. Rick Kittles in the year 2000, which sparked a memory of a remarkable epiphany I'd experienced when I was 9 years old, when my dad showed my brother and me a photograph of the oldest Gates ancestor his family had ever discovered, my great-great-grandmother, Jane Gates, a former slave and a midwife. As an experiment, when we were inventing the format of what became Finding Your Roots, our production team decided to engage the services of the stellar researcher Jane Ailes to see what Jane could find in the archives of the region in which I grew up, and where it turns out that my ancestors had settled far longer than any of us had ever imagined. I was born in the Potomac River Valley in eastern West Virginia, about halfway between Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and Washington, D.C. But as it turns out, as Jane Ailes and our chief genealogist Johnny Cerny proved, my family on all sides of my family tree had been living in this area for some 200 years. And 3 sets of my 4th great-grandparents had become free by the year 1823, long before the Civil War. And one of these ancestors, that same John Redmond, had settled in this area around 1803, just 30 miles or so from where I was born. All this time, I was looking for my roots in Africa, and it turned out that my roots were virtually right under my feet. As the great poet T.S. Eliot famously put it, we shall not cease from exploration, and the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time. Not known because not looked for, but heard, half heard, in the stillness between 2 waves in the sea. Since we started our PBS series back in 2005, I've come to believe that our ancestors continue to exist even after they've passed, in a kind of ancestral purgatory, and they remain suspended there, waiting for their descendants and researchers to find them. And once we do find them, we enable them to tell us their stories. Stories that really are about us ourselves, about aspects of ourselves that we've unknowingly and unwittingly inherited, like osmosis, from these very same ancestors. Our ancestors are ourselves, and we are the sum total of our ancestors. Literally, we carry the DNA in our genomes from every one of our ancestors back 6 generations. That's about 200 years. And DNA from lots more ancestors even further back than that. Each of us, through our genomes, is a walking family tree. Let me conclude my remarks with the thought that a friend of mine, Mr. Bruce Raymer, the chair of the board of the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, shared with me on Memorial Day when he heard the news about this award from my dear friend and unflagging supporter, Patricia Harrison, the brilliant president and CEO of the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, after Pat had joyfully shared the news of this award with her board. And this is what Bruce Raymer wrote to me. Pat shared your email about the Daughters of the American Revolution and your fabulous and so well-earned and deserved recognition. Yes, Skip, sometimes we get a surprise that really surprises us. And it's so serendipitously coincidental that on this glorious holiday of memory, we're both in our backyards, ours in Los Angeles, yours in Cambridge, doing a similar barbecue with 2 of our 9 grandchildren, shortly to be joined by our daughter and son-in-law. Hamburgers and hot dogs, pure Americana, with our grandchildren and our children. 2 families whose ancestors arrived in this country years ago, many more in your case, and who finally, thankfully, can live in freedom, as yet imperfect, but we're all working on that together. Wise words, my friends, so deeply moving and so timely. I can't thank you enough or adequately express the depth of my appreciation for this signal honor, which I accept on behalf of my co-executive producer, Dylan McGee, our series producer, Sabin Streeter, and his incredible production team, the president and CEO of PBS, Paula Kerger, and the president and CEO of the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, Patricia Harrison. I accept in honor of one of my genuine heroines, Marian Anderson, whose experience with a very different set of your predecessors of this organization, way back in 1939, was a most unfortunate encounter. I accept in honor of my daughters, who are members of the DAR. I accept in honor of my granddaughter, Eleanor Margaret Gates Hatley, whom I hope one day will become a member of this great organization. And finally, I accept this award in honor of my fourth great-grandfather, John Redmond, who served our great country so nobly as a free black man, even before our country was a country.
Thank you, Dr. Gates, for helping Americans better understand their family histories and their connection to our shared American story. We are grateful. Recognizing the importance of collecting and studying our nation's history, it is a privilege to introduce this evening's keynote speaker, Lonnie G. Bunch III, Secretary of the Smithsonian Institution. He is the 14th person to be entrusted to oversee the Smithsonian's vast network of museums, libraries, and research centers, which serve as our nation's record keepers, storytellers, and educators. We, of course, have a special connection with the Smithsonian, as the National Society has provided a copy of our proceedings of our annual Continental Congress to the institution for its records since our inception, ensuring that our contributions are properly recorded for posterity. It will be a singular honor to present the compilation of this year's accomplishments given the historic virtual format. Charged with guiding the institution through uncharted territory, Secretary Bunch finds himself in a familiar position. As founding director of the Smithsonian's National Museum of African American History and Culture, he worked for nearly 15 years to transform a grand vision into a bold reality. On the day he started, the museum had no collections, no funding, and no site. And when he departed, the Smithsonian's 19th and newest museum stood on the National Mall next to the Washington Monument. There, the striking 400,000 square foot building houses 40,000 objects that constitute the nation's largest and most comprehensive cultural destination devoted exclusively to exploring, documenting, and showcasing the African American story and its impact on our world. The impact of his work reverberates beyond the museum's walls, felt not only by the more than 6 million people who have visited in person, but by the nation's African American citizens and also for all Americans. This undertaking alone would qualify Secretary Bunch for the DAR History Award Medal, an honor reserved for those whose study and promotion of American history make meaningful advances in our understanding of the past. But he has done so much more. During a career that has garnered recognition from President George W. Bush, President Barack Obama, Harvard University, and the NAACP, Secretary Bunch has deployed his considerable talents to benefit institutions and organizations such as the Chicago Historical Society, where he served as president, the National Museum of American History, the California African American Museum, and the American Association of Museums. Over and over again, his work has proven that the African American experience is not separate from the overarching historical narrative of our nation, but an indivisible part of the whole. The better we understand it, the better we understand ourselves. It is an honor to present the DAR History Award Medal to Secretary Lonnie Bunch as a symbol of the DAR's everlasting gratitude and admiration for his remarkable body of work.
I am honored to be here among a group that shares my love for history. It means a lot to receive this award from you. In 1976, I was asked to help a professor research a book on family histories in America. One of the places I went to do research was the Daughters of the American Revolution. At the time, there was not yet widespread recognition for African Americans who participated in the revolution, or for people of color who can trace their lineage back to the revolution. Today, I think of how far our field has come and how this organization continues to enrich our understanding of who those revolutionaries were and the family histories that we now know and that we now celebrate. One of the things I have always relished as a historian is to watch our field continue to learn. In my lifetime, I've been gratified by the growing recognition that the American story is more complex and more colorful than we've ever given it credit for. We know we have so much farther to go, but that's exactly why it's so important that the DAR has dedicated this evening and other forums to telling a more inclusive version of history, to represent more fully all those who built this country, thanks to new research and new interest. We know the term revolutionary patriot now includes those many African Americans who fought for freedom during the formative years of our founding country. Importance of history, especially right now, is crucial. Today, we are still fighting to ensure that the blessings of liberty that our founders promised. We find ourselves battling what I've been thinking of as dual pandemics, the realities of COVID-19 and the illness of a deep-rooted racism, always present in our society and now so tragically brought to the fore. Once again, we must grapple with the awful truths of the American past. Once again, we must confront the grim legacy of racial violence in this country. As demoralized, as angry, as tired as I have felt in the past few weeks, I'm also energized, especially when I remember that we do not have to stay trapped by the past. As surely as our reality today is informed by our history, the choices that we make now can help us craft a better future, but only if we hold ourselves collectively accountable. For historians and historical organizations, this means facing the lessons of the past. I think this means committing our attention and our resources to pieces of the American story that in some ways have remained overlooked for far too long. This work is not easy, but it is necessary. Responsibilities of the Smithsonian is crucial at a time when this country is in crisis. All of our historical institutions have to work together for the greater good. We know the past, so we need to lead that charge forward. When my colleagues and I were building the National Museum of African American History and Culture, the great scholar John Hope Franklin repeated a mantra that has always stuck with me. He reminded us that it's the job of good cultural and historical organizations to tell the unvarnished truth. Only by presenting the full story of America in all of its triumph and tragedy, in all of its shades of gray, can we help our country move forward. I've always thought that one of the great strengths of museums is that we bring people together, people from different places, different cultures, different experience. This is difficult to do during a time of pandemic, but it comes to me to realize that as divisive and as challenging as race is in America, we must encourage healthy understanding, dialogue, debate among people of all backgrounds. That's why I'm so proud of the African Americans Museum's recent launch of Talking About Race portal. It's an online platform that provides digital tools, exercises, and resources on racial history, cultural bias, identity, and so much, much more. I believe these tools will help people of all ages and all cultures engage in productive conversations around today's most charged topics, such as race. It's time for America to confront our past. It's time to come together. It's time to embrace this moment and transform our institutions, our citizens, and our nation. Accepting this award is bigger than any individual person, and this award is about so much more than just me. But I accept, on behalf of all those enslaved women who arose every morning to care for their children before they labored in the field and who refused to let the field strip them of their hope and their humanity. I accept this on behalf of families who left the South in the 19th and early 20th century in search of a better life. And I accept this on behalf of women like my grandmother, who took in other people's laundry, scrubbed other people's floors, so that her children and grandchildren would not have to work on bended knee. And I accept this award on behalf of all those families who made a way out of no way, who despite standing in the face of discrimination, yet they still believed in America, an America that was yet to be. This award honors the truth that nothing is more powerful than a people, than a nation, steeped in its history. And it's times such as these, the roles of places that care about history is more vital than ever. We can help our nation become better, stronger, more candid, but only if we stand together and demand justice. Justice from all institutions responsible for administering it. Thank you for honoring me. Thank you for the work you do.
Thank you and congratulations to Secretary Bunch. We're grateful for your important life's work. We are all well aware that our nation has faced a great deal of upheaval and adversity during the past year. Some of the challenges were new, including our battle against the pandemic. Others have regrettably persisted for generations, including racial struggles. Given DAR's commitment to preserve the legacy of the men and women who achieved independence, we believe we have a decided role to play in better researching and promoting how African Americans and other minorities assisted in the creation of our nation. I am therefore pleased this evening to announce a new educational initiative to bolster that body of knowledge as DAR begins planning to fund the historical research of a scholar in the field of colonial and Revolutionary War era American history, with particular focus on the African American experience. We believe this is a particularly important topic as we approach the 250th anniversary of the United States, when we want to ensure that the contributions of African Americans are fully appreciated. We will seek the expertise of historians and educators of African American studies for guidance as we develop the details of this important project. One goal is to share new scholarship on the topic through our public resources in order to advance the field of study, but also advance public knowledge. Another goal is to welcome the descendants of these Americans into DAR membership. I look forward to sharing more about this initiative as it takes form. Thank you for joining us tonight to honor the patriots who founded our nation. Equally important, I applaud you for honoring their sacrifice by being a part of our vibrant service organization. Last October, we achieved a milestone when we welcomed our 1 millionth member since our 1890 founding. It was cause for celebration for every woman who has worn the insignia of our national society. Earlier this week, I paused to honor them by placing a wreath on the Daughter's tribute in the Memorial Garden. It's also a great joy to celebrate the active, vibrant women who have already contributed more than 5 million hours of service to America during the first year of our administration. Here's a small sample of our patriotic members, each of them officially 1 in a million, and each carrying forward the sacrifice of her patriot ancestor.
I'm so proud to say that I am 1 in a million.
I'm 1 in a million.
I'm 1 in a million.
And I'm 1 in a million.
I'm 1 in a million. Or 3 in a million.
And I'm 1 in a million.
I'm 1 in a million.
I'm 1 in a million.
It's a fantastic opportunity to share my passion and my love for our country.
And we join because we love history, we love preservation.
Yes. I joined to honor my patriots and because I was attracted to the motto, God, Home, Country.
I'm proud to be part of a group of women who helped save the Polar Bear House in 1895 and continue to support Boston's historic sites today.
The work we do to educate children is just one of the reasons why I am thrilled to be a member of the DAR.
DAR has their hand in just about any kind of a community service activity you can think of.
I always say that DAR has something for everyone, and it certainly had something for me.
I'm the first one that I know of in my family who became a DAR member.
My patriot is John Morrell.
3 years ago, I was climbing the proverbial family tree and discovered a Revolutionary War patriot.
I
I was so thrilled to find out that I had an ancestor that served in the Revolutionary War. His name was Robert Dudley, and he was a lieutenant in the Virginia Continental Army.
I joined DAR to honor my patriot ancestors through patriotic community service.
I think my favorite part about DAR are the stories. I love learning people's stories about their patriots.
Genealogy, it's my passion. I love it. I love sharing it. I love teaching it to others.
My daughter has become a member, my son is in the SAR, and my grandchildren are all members of the Children of the American Revolution.
I also love helping other women find their patriots so that they too can belong to DAR.
2 generations of military members. It's really important to me to give back to the community and to serve our veterans.
Giving back to those who serve and protect is what I enjoy doing.
I enjoy all the service projects for veterans.
I got really excited about all of their opportunities to honor veterans, because I have a special place in my heart for veterans because my father and my uncle both served in World War II.
The ladies in my chapter could not be more supportive of me and my personal growth, and I return that back to them. We are a great community of women who support each other and look out for each other.
The sisterhood that we have is just unbelievable and not shared by any other organization.
Amazing women. I have been so humbled and so inspired by this new circle of friends that I've made.
And I joined DAR because I didn't have any biological sisters, and now I have a zillion. I have more than 1 million.
I loved everything about DAR then, and many years later, I still love DAR.
I love DAR, and I would do anything for it.
And I'm 1 in a million.
I am 1 in a million.
I am 1 in a million.
Together, we're 1 in a million.
I am today's DAR.
I am today's DAR.
I'm 1 in a million.
And I am 1 in a million.
I am 1 in a million. I am today's DAR.
I'm 1 in a million, and I'm today's DAR.
I'm 1 in a million, and I'm today's DAR.
It is indeed a privilege for me to congratulate each of you for being 1 in a million. Please be sure to join us tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time when we will officially open our 129th Continental Congress for Business, celebrate our Education Award honorees, present reports from your executive officers, and hear the nominations for the candidates for the office of Vice President General and Honorary Vice President General. Meanwhile, please note that there are many live and recorded opportunities that are being staged to help you experience Continental Congress beyond these official sessions. Please visit the schedule of events on the DAR members website to learn more about our wide array of virtual Congress offerings. Our officers, clubs, state societies, and volunteers have amassed a wide range of workshops, events, and presentations, all for you. So be a part of history and log on. The 129th Continental Congress is recessed until 7 p.m. Eastern Time, Thursday evening. Good night.